What's up everybody, Superdurks fan here for another car review. This is of course the 1989 Nissan 240SX. Huge thanks to Alex for allowing me to review his very cool 240SX here for you guys today. So about the 240, well this one is a unicorn. It's almost entirely stock, which makes it extremely rare these days. And as you guys know, I prefer to review mostly stock cars, and so it was really awesome to find one here finally in stock form. I know so many of you have been requesting a 240SX and I'm very excited to review it for you guys today. So about this one, well, 1989, first year of them, and so this was kind of viewed as the BRZ of its time, a great chassis, awesome handling car that just, a lot of people felt was a little underpowered. And but otherwise, I mean, this one looks fantastic. I mean, 89,000 original miles. It looks really great with the black wheels here that are added. Has an exhaust system and a rear strut bar, and that's it. And so really nice. And I love the way that they designed these even back then. I mean, the flip-up headlights are so 80s and so cool looking these days, especially now. I think it's kind of grown on a lot of people. And it just looks really slick. It's a great shape that I think has aged really well, and I think it looks great. Right, so for the interior of the 240SX here, well, it's, pretty typical, early 90s kind of Nissan stuff here. So, I mean, one thing that is kind of from the 80s here are these seat belts, which, are automatic here for the shoulder part. Of course, the lap part is still manual. And so it's just a cool little touch. Otherwise, though, sitting down in these seats here, so they're definitely on the wider side, especially here on the lower, thigh portion here. Not too much of a bolster here to hold you in, but there is a little bit of a curvature to them, but some of the least aggressive seats I've encountered in a while. But the top part here, the torso support is actually pretty good. It's fairly snug and has a decent bolster. Again, for the time, they're respectable seats. These days, I think there's actual family sedans that have more aggressive seats, but for the time, I think these seats are pretty good, and they are very comfortable as well so far. And it's a really good seating position too. That's one thing. The dashboard sits very low, and everything is within easy reach, and you just have a very good sight down the road, and so really enjoy that. Next though is the steering wheel in the 240SX, which is a basic wheel here. This one has cruise control, so that's here on the one side, but otherwise though it's just a really nice 9.3 grip. It's a good thick wheel that feels pretty good in your hands, and just a good basic wheel, and so not much more you can expect from a car from 1989. As far as the gauges in the 240SX, again, not much you can expect from a car in 1989, but they look great. I mean, the speedometer goes up to 115 here, which is generous considering other cars from the 80s only went up to 85. Just all the basic information you need. They're very clear. I like the font of them, and they look pretty good. Coming over to the center of the dashboard here, very clean and simplistic. It's really commendable how, easy it is as far as controlling everything. You have your basic fan speed, climate controls, all very straightforward, and then you have your cassette deck, which is all original. This car, the whole interior is entirely original, and it's awesome. So great to see the old cassette deck there, and radio of course. And then as far as storage space, while we're here in this area, you can see you have enough room for a few cassette tapes here, in the good little space there. He also has a switch here for his fog lights that he wired in that otherwise wouldn't be there. But as far as other storage space, it's actually, I'm kind of impressed. You have dual map pockets here on the doors that are very large and are really nice to have. And then coming over to the center, aside from under the cassette deck there, you just have a little ashtray coin holder type thing here, and then you have this center armrest, which is hard plastic. There's no way to get around that. It's very hard, not even trying to be padded, but it's nice to have an armrest nonetheless. And you lift that up and you have a meager little storage bin here. You can fit your chargers and things like that. So nice to have some storage there, but obviously it's not enormous. But for a car of this time, I think it's actually pretty good. Backseat space in the 240SX is, on the tight side, of course. It's not something you want to use every single day, but there is, a good amount of legroom there for using in a pinch. I would say it's definitely a little bit roomier than a BRZ or something like that, but not by much. Typical of most coupes, you usually don't have a ton of legroom back there, but it will certainly work in a pinch. and so overall a very usable back seat. Trunk space in the 240SX. Now they made them in both coupe and hatchback. This is the hatchback version, so you have the hatch that goes all the way up, and it's very versatile, and you know, a large wide area, and so very good, you know, for, you know, putting in all the stuff that you need. Again, for a two-door car, it's really versatile and you know, great as far as storage space goes. All right, so it's time to go for a drive. 1989, of course. She's got a basic key here, and easy enough. So you just slip that into the slot up here, and you get yourself tugged in here, and it starts right up. All right, so setting off in the 1989 Nissan 240SX. So first thing that you notice, this car would be very easy to learn manual transmission on. The clutch is extremely forgiving. It's a very short throw, but the throttle response is also so quick and sharp that the second that you even like barely rest your foot on it, it immediately starts accelerating. So I feel like you'd have to really try hard to stall this car. So that's you know, good for those learning manual. Other things to note though, I mean, you feel like you're really sitting low, but everything else feels really low down as well. So it's really spectacular visibility. I mean, you can see forward very, very well. View out of the back is awesome, of course, with the hatch here. View out of the sides is great too, with the B-pillar way far back there. And so, I mean, you feel like you're driving around in a bubble, and visibility can't get much better than this, honestly. Other things to note, now we're on this park road that's a little bit bumpy here, but the ride's surprisingly smooth, even with this one has Eibach lowering springs on it. But, you know, they're very friendly springs as far as streetability goes. And so honestly, I mean, it's just really smooth and refined here in stock form. One other cool thing to note about this car is that, you know, the great thing about older cars like this is a lot of them have a story. And this one was actually bought by the owner's mother as her first car, and she just didn't drive it a whole lot. And so now, you know, we're at 95,000 miles here, and it's in remarkably good shape. And it's been in the family all these years, and so that's why he wants to keep this, you know, very close to stock to kind of keep it in the same condition here. And I think that's really cool. And in a few years, he's going to have a really valuable car, I think, down the road, since there's hardly any stock 240SXs. So I'm really excited to take this on a back road here and see how it does. And here we go. Might sound extremely disappointing, but honestly it was fun, and that's the thing is, you know, you can just keep your foot in it and give it all it's got, and it makes it fun instead of, you know, going up to 100 miles an hour in 3 seconds. You know, this is it's a different type of fun, but it is certainly fun. So but you know, just putting around here now, it's just a really fun thing to drive. You know, obviously, yes, it could use more power, of course it could. That's why everyone swaps the motor, and that's why I was so excited to drive on with the stock motor, to see what these actually were like from the factory. And I think it's still a great car and a great package. Again, it's very similar to stuff like the BRZ. It's not a muscle car by any means, not even close, but it's still fun to drive, and the handling is, you know, what makes all the difference. So he did add a rear strut tower bar, and then also we have Michelin Pilot Super Sports. They're 225 in width on all four corners here, which helps the handling a lot, in addition to the Eibach lowering springs. But it's just, I mean, it is like only 2,700 pounds for these things too. So I mean, steering is effortless. I mean, it has a really great organic feel to it, and going around corners is just again, just like a natural extension of, you know, what you want the car to do. It automatically does it. Other things to note, the shifter feels really great. I mean, obviously it's a long throw, again, from the factory here, but it works really well. I mean, the gears are well defined. It's very easy to shift through. Other things to note, the brake pedal has some travel, like, you know, most cars of this age do. But once you get into the brakes, though, they feel pretty good. Now, he did upgrade the rotors, so this now has some drilled and slotted rotors. But otherwise, the same calipers and everything, and you know, they get the job done. Again, you're not going very fast in this car, so you don't need super mighty brakes in order to, you know, achieve your goals. And so this car just is so simple in the way that it drives, and it just feels really fun, really enjoyable, and just kind of makes you appreciate simpler engineering and simpler technology. You know, lightweight, low center of gravity, you know, a good sounding an Apex exhaust. It sounds awesome. So just a great classic combination that never really gets old. But anyway, I'm going to drive around for a little while longer here, and I'll come back and give you my final thoughts. Alright, so I've been driving the 1989 240SX here for a little while longer, and it's a great car. It's just very likable. You know, it's obviously, it's not fast, honestly, you know, but it's so exciting to drive. One thing I've noticed while I've been driving here a little longer is the sense of speed in this car. You feel like you're going faster than you are, and I think that's partially because the hood drops down so you don't see any kind of hood, and you feel like you're sitting fairly close to the windshield, and so everything just seems to be going by so quickly, and that adds to the excitement and the fun and gives you that sensation of speed. Even if you're not doing, you know, 150 miles an hour, it still is exciting to drive. So you just put your foot into it and eventually it gets up and goes. But this is a 1989 model, so it's a still single overhead cam. So in 1991 they switched over to dual overhead cam, which I think might give you a little more of a slightly VTEC type sensation, whereas this, it's pretty flat, predictable power all the way through. You know, it's not quick, of course, but it's still fun to drive, and it's a great starting point, of course, for anyone that does want to, you know, swap motors or do turbos or any of that kind of stuff. You certainly can, and adding more power will only make it more fun, but it is still very fun the way that Nissan intended it from the factory. Last few things I want to mention here about the 240SX. It actually, you know, the brakes, they don't feel very confidence inspiring, but it is nice that it was standard equipment to have four-wheel disc brakes on this car, which was kind of a rare thing back then as well. A lot of people are still having drums in the back, so great to have, you know, that all around all four corners. One unfortunate thing though about these is you do not have a limited slip diff, so it's an open diff, which means that if you want to drive one of these in the winter, it's going to be really, really tough. Just because, you know, it'll just spin one wheel wildly out of control, and that's it. So you know, you just have to keep in mind, you know, that it probably, if you're going to drive one of these, it's probably a 3 seasons type car. At least, you know, unless you can just stay out of the snow, then you're good. But yeah, I mean, otherwise though, it's a great car, and I think this would be a really, really great first car because it's not enough power to really get in trouble. You have to really try hard to go super fast in one of these, but it's very easy with the clutch. Like I said, it's very easy to drive. Visibility is very good, and it's just a really nice thing as far as, you know, just learning rear-wheel drive mechanics in a really well-balanced, great starting vehicle that also gets pretty decent gas mileage for a car of its time. The owner told me it gets around 19, which, you know, again, for something that only has a 5-speed manual and is geared not for highway fuel economy, is still pretty great. And so yeah, you know, it's a really great car, and I really enjoy driving it here. A few more comments here about the suspension I just want to add in. Of course, now this one has Michelin Pilot Super Sports and the lowering springs, so it is going to handle better than, you know, they usually do from the factory. But honestly, you know, aside from that, there's not much that's changed, and I can see how the handling of this car is so legendary, because I mean, all the cars from the late 80s, early 90s here from, you know, all the Japanese manufacturers, all are very good handling cars. But like I said earlier, it just has such an effortlessness about it that it's just, it's so easy to drive around corners. You don't have to overthink it. It's very predictable, at least on these tires. You know, there is a little bit of a lean and a body roll to it, like you would expect from any car of this time. Of course, that's easy to fix if you want to, you know, add more sway bars or, you know, coilovers, things like that. But I like that little bit of a lean. It gives you a little bit more excitement and helps you to feel out what the car is doing as far as your traction and whatnot. And so yeah, it's just a very predictable, very fun thing to drive, and it's always great to go around a corner in one of these. But yeah, so anyway, let me know your thoughts on the 240SX. Huge thanks once again to Alex for letting me review this unicorn of a car here. Again, I'm so excited to be able to experience what one of these was like from the factory here for the most part, and it's a really fantastic starter car. It's a great car all around. You know, it's a really fun thing to drive. And so yeah, anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.